Hi, Dr. Lim here. In this coffee talk, I'm going to teach you two simple Malay words, Paksu and Macik. Paksu means elderly uncle, Macik means elderly auntie. In the development of DXN, one Paksu and one Macik have transformed the course of development of DXN. So over the years, I'm telling their stories over and over again. Most probably you have heard it before, but no harm for me to repeat it again here in today's coffee talk. It is Paksu who successfully brought a lot of initial members into DXN. I never mention his name because his family is still active in DXN. Otherwise, they may face a lot of disturbances from overzealous members. Paksu just passed away peacefully and quietly at a very high age this year. We never do any celebration or memorial for him because it is his will that he wants a peaceful and simple life. If people know about him, then his life will be full of visitors and tons of visitations. In his old age, actually many members who know him try to avoid talking about DXN with him because sometimes tears come down to his eyes and he was started to tell how DXN transformed his life and his family. Those who are close to him told me he always cries when people discuss DXN with him. It is a cry due to deep emotion, of course, not crying due to regret. So we always leave him in peace. Maybe this is the best way, to respect him. So I want you to understand why I never mentioned his name and his whereabouts. Paksu always said DXN has changed his life and loved DXN with all his heart. Similarly, I'm also full of emotion when I talk about him. He has changed DXN as much as DXN changed him. This is why his story, I always bring it to all corners of DXN as a form of respect to him. Maybe this is the best way we can respect him. Leave him in peace and lead a quiet life, only telling his stories to the young comer of DXN. When it comes to April 1993, DXN was in a very bad shape. Lack of sales and lack of members are the two main problems. One day in April, when I reached the office, my car told me there was a mad person who came and sat in the office. I saw Paksu sitting on the sofa, sweating all over, even though we have aircon in the room, looking confused and staring into 2,000 yards away. I approached him and asked how I could help him. He told me his wife roasted the coffee and he sold it using a van. Due to bad business, he failed to pay the installment. Just before this, the bank forced and took the van away. Without the van, he may not survive. And he did not know how to tell his wife about the incident. He was in a pitiful stage, so I offered him to leave him home and talk to his wife. He was shocked to see that I'm driving a very old Volkswagen, almost the same age as me. He asked me, "Are you the owner of DXN?" I answered, "Yes." Then he asked, "Is this your car?" I answered, "Yes." Then he asked again, "You're using this car for your M&M business?" I answered, "Yes," and asked him, what was wrong with the car? It could still carry him home. While in the car, he told me he learned something from me. Maybe he should not make his life too complicated after all. Being simple also could make the life going. Finally, we reached his home, and I told the sad news to his wife. Oh. Immediately, she burst into tears, crying loudly. The anguish in her cry could haunt you for a long time. Even so, she managed to prepared a cup of coffee for me and told me that this coffee was roasted by her. For a Malay family, they always serve you a cup of coffee when you come to their house, no matter what. I told her there was no point crying now. Paksu could join DXN. You did not need a van to sell DXN products. Everything could start small and simple. So Paksu became the first DXN active member. He managed to bring a group of people, about 7 of them come to meet me, all are Malays. Before that, I focused my market on the local Chinese, because Lingzi is a famous Chinese herb. But none of them dare to consume the products from the local forests. They want the products from China and Taiwan. They keep on asking, will you die if you take the products? Then I have to keep on assuring them. I have been consuming a lot of it, and still running and kicking. No sign of dying. I have done the chemical analysis, the toxicity test, and the test on the chickens. Even so, none of them bought the products. I have learned a very good lesson in it, When the market is not responding, go and hunt for a new market, Do not waste your time on the non-performing markets. I explained to the group the advantage of joining a local company. They could visit the farm and factory at will. The time they joined one Taiwanese company, they found that the quality of the products were not stable. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's no good. When they demanded the company to show them the plantation and the factory, they went all the way to Taiwan and only showed a few logs of Ganoderma mushroom, And they were told it was winter time and there was no growing of Ganoderma. The factory was under renovation, so they could not visit the factory. Actually, there was no farm and no factory. The company just got the products from the third party. I showed them the farm and factory of DXN, and they were happy to see that. The only question was whether the products was effective or not. If effective, then they could join DXN. One of them told me there was one Macik in the village suffering from knee pain and maybe could try on her. A few days later, after the evening Muslim prayer, we went into the village to meet the Macik. The village was remote and it was very dark on the way. Finally, we reached the destination. A small wooden and raised Malay house with very dim light. All of us sat on the floor as the Macik was poor and there was no sofa or furniture in the house. Macik was slim and fragile, talking softly and always smiled. She immediately reminded me of my grandma, who never quarreled with any neighbors in her whole life, always talking softly and smiling. Macik told me all her sons and daughters were working elsewhere. Only 2 small grandsons and daughter were with her. She told me she worked very hard in the field. Now her knee was not doing well, very painful, and she suffered a lot. I could see from her small physique that she was suffering from malnutrition. I advised her to take RG and GL, and that should help her. After this discussion and explanation, she was happy and decided to buy the products. And she went into her room and bought some knot handkerchief. In the village, they were so poor and forget about the LV and all the luxurious bags. The money was put on handkerchiefs and tied into a knot. I saw her open out the first knot, then reveal the second handkerchief. Open up the second knot, then the third handkerchief. The money must be very precious to her, as she knocked it in 3 layers of handkerchiefs. When he counted the money, it was hardly 50 ringgits. Immediately, we were facing a problem. Before that, 60 capsules of Ganoderma, the Taiwanese company sold them for 150 ringgit. I sold 30 RG and 30 GL, also 60 capsules for 120 ringgit. I knew price cutting could ruin an M&M company, so I made it clear to everybody. Whoever dared to undercut the price, we will cut him from the company, terminate him without any ceremony. Emotionally, Macik was touched my heart. No? She was like my grandma. And 50 ringgits may well be the only money that she had. There was a lot of money for her. I feel my body started to sweat. No? I know. If I saw her 50 ringgit at the time, no, tomorrow onwards, it will be 50 ringgit for 60 capsule. Because I am the one who break the price cutting rules. I have to stick to it then. Many thoughts flew through my mind. No? 50 ringgit is 2.5 times cheaper than 120 ringgit. No American company ever cut the price so heavily. No? Now DXN was in bad shape. No? If the sales remain low due to low price, then it may be the end of DXN. I told myself, if Macik was my grandma, I would have give her the products. I would have give the products to her. But I also forbid member to give out products free of charge. Even when their brothers buy the products, they have to sell it at market price. No free giving of products and no undercutting of price. When we practice sunya, we can cut off our emotion at will. At that moment, I observed my breathing and calm down my mind. Then I shut down my emotion and all worry and decided to sell her the product for 50 ringgits. When on the way home, I declared to the group, from tomorrow onward, the price of the product will be 50 ringgits, not 120 ringgit anymore. Cheers and exclamation burst out from them. No. They have seen with their own eyes. We care for Macik. All of them joined the DXN. Shortly after that, the news that the knee of Macik was healed and he could go to the field to do her farming work. He declared to everybody, I am like her son, and the products of the DXN is very effective. Suddenly it became viral and people started to gather and listen to my stories. Sales of the products started to pick up and gain momentum. DXN never looked back after that night. Our products remain the cheapest in the world in terms of similar qualities and efficacy until today. Finally, we beat all the competitors and emerged as the largest Ganarama company in the world. That's all for today. I shall tell you more about Paksu in the coming video. See you then. Bye-bye.